And we're pleased to welcome Father Fred Wekesa, Rector of the Basilica of Saint Augustine, that's in the northeastern port city of Annaba in Algeria. Thank you for being with us here on France 24.
Thank you so much for hosting me also.
The Basilica of Saint Augustine, we should remind our viewers that Saint Augustine, the 4th century theologian who's so important in the Catholic Church, of course, was Algerian.
Exactly, yeah. The Basilica now, as it was built in from 1881 to 1900, and one of the objectives was to honor St. Augustine, because during that time, in the late 19th century, we had only the ruins. And in the ruins, it was discovered that the Basilica of Peace exists, where Augustine worked as a bishop and died and was buried, or even though his body was taken to Italy and is in Pavia now, but at least the new church was built in honor of him, and also to have a place of worship for the current community. And the last reason is at least to have a place like a carrefour, a place of meeting whereby the tourists, the pilgrims, can be able to come and visit, discover about the riches of St. Augustine, and also know more about his spirituality. Indeed, it is very, very important here in Algeria in terms of building bridges to live in peace.
Yeah, building bridges. We're again seeing those live images. You're watching them with us there from Notre Dame de l'Afrique Cathedral in Algiers. Explain it again for our audiences. The Pope visiting a country where Catholics make up just a tiny fraction of the population.
Yes, exactly. We are very few. Yeah, but being few does not mean that we are insignificant. In fact, His Holiness Pope Leo XIV coming to visit us, it is an encouragement to us. It has even renewed us spiritually to be to value also that we belong to the church that cares, because the messenger of peace in the name of Pope Leo XIV is coming to visit us. So his coming really encourages us as a small community. But then his reason to come is not only for us, the minority Christians, but he's coming for the people of Algeria also. Because remember, it is in connection with St. Augustine, because St. Augustine was born some 90 kilometers from here in a place called Tagaste, which is in the wilaya of Sokaras. But here where we are, he worked as a bishop and died here. It was Hippo, but now is Annaba. Then this brings in the importance of his visit is really to bring us the message of peace. And also, as he said, the Pope said when he was coming back from Lebanon, that he would want to advance the message of peace. Therefore, he's coming also to bring us the message of peace, as the theme says, peace be with you. That is the theme of this visit here. And also to make us, like we already live this in peace, but to encourage us and to do more about having interreligious dialogue, dialoguing between Muslims and Christians.
And Christians, Father Wekesa, let me ask you about this, because for our viewers, there's a context, there's a backdrop, there's a history. People who are in Algeria remember the so-called blood years, when there was a civil war, and most notably the slaughter of the monks at of Tiberine. Is that something you thought about this morning when you woke up and you looked at the Pope's agenda for the day, visiting the Grand Mosque, that ecumenical the ecumenical gestures surrounding this visit?
Yes, yeah, for sure. The there are two ways in which now we can be able to see Algeria, and I thank God for this opportunity where the Holy Father is coming to visit. One is that before I came here, and other people who have the temptation to see Algeria in terms of 1990s, yeah, I can tell them that, sorry, yeah, things have changed. Yeah, because as it has been witnessed, I've been here 10 years, yeah, in Algeria. And then we can see the welcome that was accorded to His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. And then there is a kind of tolerance that exists. Yeah, here, that's why we are up to where we are. Therefore, the Pope's coming is coming to enhance this interreligious dialogue. But for me, I take it further also, that we should not only concentrate on the religion to dialogue, but also let us have this dialogue in our families. Because St. Augustine tells us that for you to have peace, what does it mean? It means the tranquility of the order. Yeah, tranquility of the order, such that when things are in order, when justice is done, when equality reigns, therefore we shall have peace. What does this Augustine mean? It means that we cannot find a hand on the head or the head walking. Like things find them in their right place to rest there. Therefore, Pope's coming is bringing this message of peace and to advance more on this interreligious dialogue.
And just very briefly on this,
dialogue when things are not good.
Just very briefly on this, he's getting a warm welcome, as both our correspondent and you have said, in Algeria. The first American Pope getting an earful from the current U.S. president, who called him, quote, terrible. We're seeing in the last minutes among those defending the Pope is the Italian Prime Minister, calling Donald Trump's remarks unacceptable, saying it's right and normal for him to call for peace and condemn all forms of war. Your thoughts on this spat that's arisen between Pope Leo and Donald Trump?
Yeah, what I can say is that the president, Donald Trump, maybe does not understand the agenda of peace. Yeah, because for Pope Leo, what he's saying is that let us use like Augustine suggested, when there is a problem, and of course, when we live in peace, there will be some problems. But how can we be able to resolve these problems? Is through employing the method of dialogue. Even for Augustine, when there was a lot of divisions in the church, the Donatists, the Pelagians, the Manichaeans, he dialogued with them to bring them back. Therefore, the Pope is proposing a peaceful, the best way is to dialogue rather than to resolve in using force and the violence. Violence cannot resolve anything.
Father
so it is in the sense
Wekesa, I want to thank
he has misunderstood.
He's misunderstood. Father Fred Wekesa, thank you so much for joining us from Annaba in Algeria.